I want attacking, purposeful football all the time. Now we're going to have backs against the wall and we're going to fight, and we're going to fight hard. You've got to show me all the guts and all the determination you've got in your body. You've got to inspire me.
A marvellous kick. That's as good as you'll ever see. And puts Graham back in front. From inside the centre square. Boys kick the goal. Boys kick the goal. From inside the centre.
Hey Pack, welcome to Danny Boyd. It's a podcast about the most wonderful, the most optimistic, the most horrifyingly inconsistent football club in the known universe. That is the Footscray Football Club, Batriatry Limited. They trade as Western Bulldogs. I'm Danny McGinlay. Boydie's still in Italy, no doubt laundering money or whatever it is he's doing over there. But I've got a guest, Boydie, one of the best. One of our first ever guests, by the way. Welcome back, Wil Anderson.
It's nice to be back. I said I wouldn't come back until Boydie wasn't here.
Yeah, you two have famously at feuding with each other.
After that last episode, we've been in a feud. I don't know about what, but about something, let's just say.
I do remember that last episode we did was halfway. We often record with you during Melbourne Comedy Festival. Yes. And I just remember almost falling asleep halfway through because it's such a slog. So it's good to chat to you now that I'm not worried about ticket sales and other things.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you're feeling good. I did 3 hours of breakfast radio and another podcast already today. So
Really?
Yeah.
What was your other one?
I'm really digging in. We did a Tofop with friends, one
nice.
with Charlie and I with Daisy and Rosie. So it was a big old crossover episode.
So you just, how is the breakfast radio sounded really good on Triple M.
Thank you. Yeah, we're enjoying doing it. It's actually like the perfect way to do breakfast radio, which is for 3 months. I think if somebody, because people have said to me since we've been doing it again, they're like, would you do it more permanently? Because the contract is literally just until the week after the grand final.
Yeah.
You know, like to keep the football momentum going at the station.
Absolutely.
The winter months. And so people are like, oh yeah, but if they offered you the job, would you come back and do it full time? And I said, here's what I can guarantee you. If they offered me 3 months a year, in this gap between the two TV shows I do in the middle of the winter in the run up to the footy finals, yes. If someone else can cover the rest of the year,
yeah,
I'm fine with that. But I'd happily tag in for those 3 months because it's a great joy to come into the radio station every morning, like a radio station that is, you can talk about football.
Yeah.
We have Max Gorn in twice a week. You have all these. Like, for me, the best thing about doing one of these shows, and I've previously done one before on that same network, is it's not the on-air. For someone who's a football fan like us, and you'd know this from being around, other football TV shows or like whatever, where it's the off-air conversations where you find out what's really going on. That really makes it all worthwhile. Like
you were blessed though with Eddie Maguire and Luke Darcy, two board members who Eddie knows more than anyone else where the bodies are buried.
Oh. I mean, I know where those bodies are buried now because Eddie would tell me where the bodies are buried. But also the last few weeks, like obviously there's been a lot going on at the Melbourne Football Club. And we have Max Gorn on our show twice a week, Monday and Friday every week. So I've been both hearing what he said on air about it and I've got to hear what he said off air. And it has been like, look, they'll never hear this hopefully, so I can say this out loud.
Here we go.
But if I got that level of good gossip per week, they probably wouldn't have to pay me to come in. If they could guarantee me that level of behind-the-scenes insight into a thing I'm already interested in per week, like in any week, I'm like, you know what? The gossip was worth it this week. It was worth it for social currency. Every time I'd run into Broden Kelly and he'd be like, what's really going on in Melbourne?
Of course.
Like, well, I'll tell you.
So, actually, this is perfect for a Bulldogs themed podcast. How bad is it at Melbourne?
I mean, can you believe? And we were saying this on the weekend. Can you believe that after 2021, that it's them and not us that have imploded? Like, I can't believe it because that's normally us.
That's true.
We're normally the ones who implode and fall apart and go, we thought we were going to be successful and have an era of success and now we didn't. And it was them. When they went away from us in that 2021, I've never seen it.
You've never, you didn't watch it live?
I watched the game live.
Oh, yeah.
But I had, because of course this was the lockdown year. And by the way, nothing more on brand for Melbourne, particularly now when we realise this isn't going to be an era, that 2021 was a one-off, and that their fans didn't see it, because there has been nothing more on brand for a club than Melbourne fans not getting to see their team play, because they don't go to games at the best of times. Right?
It's perfect.
And so it actually was so on brand for Melbourne that the one time they won the grand final, no one could go and see it.
Yeah.
That is payback for all those 15,000 crowds you've had at the MCG over the years when you're at the Snow not supporting your team. And so I was at home by myself on the day. And I can remember the exact moment where it all went wrong. It's BT's fault, and I'll say it to this
Oh, really?
day.
Okay.
Yeah, middle of the third quarter, when Bont kicks that goal, and
He
BT
does.
says in the commentary that Bont's going to win the Norm Smith medal, the Bulldogs are going to win the grand final.
Does he say that?
Yeah, he says it. And I know this, Danny, because I had been at home by myself, like I was the only person in the house.
Yeah.
That day, because it's like grand final day, and I was a little bit nervous about what's happening, I might have had one of my medically authorised medicinal edibles,
Totally fine.
right? So nothing, it wasn't doing anything I wasn't allowed to do.
No, that's
But maybe I'd had an extra one. Maybe I'd maybe I'd had a little bit more than the usual recommended dose.
That's okay.
And I'd sat there by myself in silence.
Yep.
And I quite enjoyed what had happened all day, watched the grand final. But I'd literally realised I hadn't, because I turned my phone off. I was like, I'm just going to
yes.
enjoy this today.
Yep.
And I've got to be honest with you, like about halfway through that third quarter, even, and you know this, I'm not an optimistic person, but there was
true.
a part of me that was like, I think we might
Yeah.
be about to win this.
Yep.
But I, of course, wouldn't say that, because I've got a lifetime of pessimism on my shoulders. But Brian Taylor, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about
No.
my feelings. And I remember this distinctly because Brian made that comment after, and I said out loud to no one, but out loud, I said, "Shut the fuck up, Brian."
And that's fair.
And I remember, and then it just all went wrong. So when they got about 3 goals up and then it just started to pile on,
Yeah.
I just said, you know what? I don't need to watch this.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept it on, but I started I went outside, I did some other things. So I had
Some
it, and I
gardening
could just
or-
hear it.
Yeah.
So I've heard it.
That's
But I was like, you know what? I don't need to watch it.
No.
I don't need to see it. I can understand what happened intellectually, but I have no need to sit down and. I don't know if you've ever watched the movie Shaun of the Dead.
of course.
Yeah,
Love that
right.
film.
It's a great movie.
Yes.
But sometimes if I don't want to feel upset and just want to enjoy it,
Oh.
I will watch it up to
Yes.
before Sean's mum dies.
Exactly. No, what a I hate that about Shaun of the Dead. It's such a jarring moment for a fun, wacky comedy, and then it's a devastating
Yeah, it's devastating.
cricket bat to the face.
So that is me and the Bulldogs 2021 grand final.
Well-
It's like I try to get out, because it's actually a good watch for a Bulldogs fan up until when Sean's mum turns. Right? And then
She didn't want to cause a fuss.
No,
But
right.
once Luke Jackson starts just biting into her arm.
And the fact that all of them are it looked for a minute like they were all going to be gone, but a lot of those 2021 heroes from Melbourne are now not there anymore.
Yeah.
But for the club itself to just, it looked like they were going to be, the new Richmond or the new Hawthorn or whatever it
Yeah.
might have been,
Yep.
but it really
They were the new Bulldogs.
they would, yeah, and we're in the finals. So
It is exciting. I've got a few notes to make of that. I've blocked that evening from my memory so much. My son still blames me for going to the toilet. That's why we lost. I went and peed, and when I came back, Melbourne had put on 2 goals.
yeah, you tell your son it was Brian Taylor's
Okay,
fault.
I will. We also turned it off halfway through the last quarter because my son was crying.
Yeah.
And I put him to bed and was trying to explain football and pain and everything to him. And then I started crying.
Yeah.
So that was pretty grim. And I remember after I put him to bed, I went outside and I went into the corridor, and my wife said, "I've turned it off." And I went, "Okay." And she goes, "Take your clothes off. Get in the bed. I'll do what I can."
That's
Isn't she brilliant?
lovely.
Yes.
I didn't have that. I was alone.
Yeah.
And I disgusted me, so I couldn't do anything about it.
I then I remember, we're talking about Bontempelli and jinxing it and stuff. I'm sort of friends with this guy called, I am friends with him, but we're not that close. Tim Watt, who is a federal MP for Gellibrand. Tim Watt, he's a great guy. We text each other sporadically, and whenever we hang out and have a few beers. It's a great time. But he texted me about 6 months later, after that grand final, about comedy festival tickets or something, and I saw the last text we'd sent each other, and it was that night, and the last thing I'd sent him was one more goal and we're in. And that just grief can hit you in so many different ways.
I mean, it was made different by obviously the fact that we'd had 2016.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
And this was my thing at the start of the season. I don't know how you are when it comes to Bevo, like whether you're just an all-in on Bevo or whether you were one of those people who were starting to have like question marks around.
I did, for the Patreons will know I had question marks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's not unusual that you would question it. There were times where you go, oh, hang on. Like there are, like, why are we not doing this? Why are these players not being, like, why is what's happening? Like, because he is one of those people that even at his best, sometimes you're like, it's like how every Elon Musk fan thinks that he's playing like 5D chess, right? That's what you hope with Bevo. You always hope that Bevo's got a plan that you're not aware of, and this is all part of Bevo's plan. Yeah. But you, like Elon Musk, you're never sure whether sometimes it's just luck that he hits the right things or whether there is a grand vision behind it. But as I always said to people, I said, even in the times when I had doubts, here's what I didn't have a doubt about. That I'd spent the first 40, well, what am I, 50 now? So that means I'd spent the first 40 plus years of my life, 40 years of barracking for the Bulldogs, let's just say, with never seen my team play in a grand final. And within his coaching regime at the Bulldogs, I had seen them win a grand final and be up in a grand final halfway through the third quarter of a grand final. And to me, that level of success was so unprecedented in my lifetime that I was like, you know what? Just statistically, you could coach this club to no success for another 40 years and you'd still be ahead of the game, statistically over anybody else.
Yeah. I mean, we know that when Whitten Oval gets redeveloped again and it gets made for AFL men's games, there will be the beverage stand.
Yes.
There'll be the Bontempelli stand, there'll be the beverage stand, there'll be the Wil Anderson bar.
I mean, I'd hope so. In the museum, because they had all the old seats that had like the dedications and plaques on them. And so I've heard, and I haven't seen this, but I've been told by several people that they've saved two of them for the museum.
And is one yours?
Julia Gillard, Wil Anderson.
Yes! I mean, that's harsh on Merv Hughes, but...
I know. Take that. Sorry. Take that, Liam Hemsworth. The Hemsworth have been very quiet about the Bulldogs, which is dismaying. Only they're in good times.
Yeah.
That's what I'm feeling about the Hemsworth. They're very happy to be involved in good times. But
when Bailey Smith's kicking the winning goal, he's shirt off on Instagram celebrating. But, where's... He was at a game earlier this year when we beat West Coast. Yes, he was there. That's true. But, Hemsworth is the white whale for this podcast, if I can get to Hemsworth.
Any Hemsworth? Or
I'll take Luke, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Luke in his... this is the thing about poor old Luke Hemsworth, is that if there
people might not even know, there is a third Hemsworth. There's Chris, Liam, and Luke. Yeah.
And they're all actors.
All actors.
And Luke has had a degree of success of his own.
He's in a couple. He's in the Thor movies.
Yeah, and he was in that Westworld remake TV series, which was great. He did a really good job in that. He's been in a bunch of things. And Charlie, who I do my podcast with, Charlie Clausen, has acted with Luke over the years on different things. And then there's Liam, and then there's Chris, obviously, right?
Liam, who's in Independence Day sequel and the Hunger Games, but then you've got Chris, who is Thor and is Ghostbusters, Men in Black. Yeah. There's a clear winner in the. But I mean, if you measure it,
Scott Selwood was a good player.
Yeah.
It's only because Joel Selwood's his brother that he pales in comparison, right?
Yeah, Billy Baldwin probably is a decent actor as well.
Oh yeah, Stephen Baldwin has some weird ideas. Yeah.
I can't. I know there's Alec and the other three. I cannot tell the difference between.
But I think the way would be. I think Luke's more gettable.
All right. So Luke, if you're listening.
Luke, but then like, Luke gives you an entree to
Liam, and then we finish with
you work
Chris.
your way up to Chris, I think.
It's a good idea. If we make the grand final, they'll come out of hiding.
You won't be able to. You'll be batting away Hemsworths if we make the grand final. They'll be back. Don't you worry about that.
Well, we're hoping there'll be. You and I have done both of these. There's a March to the G from Fed Square when we play at the MCG. It's not happening this week because we've got the AFLW curtain raiser.
That's
and
right.
head in for that. Have you got tickets, by the way, or are you
to Friday night?
To Friday night.
Yes. Charlie and I are going to go to the game on Friday night, which is our tradition. Charlie and I have a footy podcast together, and we tend to go to these finals together. It's always nice to have.
I don't know if you can hear it's hailing into my house now.
It is hailing. So
that's the background. This is just the drama of dogs making finals.
It is now hailing.
Which
feels like Chris Hemsworth has heard us. So he's summoned the god of thunder. And he's got hail outside our window to say, "I heard you. I know what you're talking about." Yes, I am going on Friday. Yes,
sweet. So and if we do win, and Geelong lose, we will play Geelong at the MCG the Friday after, I believe, if a guy in my WhatsApp group is correct, which is sadly. It's embarrassing to admit how much of my sources for this podcast are some bloke in my Bulldogs WhatsApp group.
So I think your Bulldogs WhatsApp group might be very different to my Bulldogs.
I'm in
WhatsApp
a few.
Group.
I'm in like half a dozen.
So I'm only in one.
You're okay. Who's in yours?
Well, so I was put into this because I'm in a coterie at the Bulldogs, and so it is the coterie WhatsApp group. So there's a bunch of interesting people in there. But I will tell you this: it is the most polite WhatsApp group that has ever existed in the history of they are so supportive and enthusiastic about the team. Every re-signing is a great re-signing.
Yep.
Everyone getting back into the team is a great. There was one. I think when we were getting belted in Adelaide a few weeks ago, there was someone who said, "Oh, not good today," and that was about as rough as it's ever got.
That is
WhatsApp group, which I think in the history of WhatsApp groups might make it the politest WhatsApp group of all time.
And what is your role in? Are you throwing in gags, or are you just?
No.
No, you'd be a stalker.
I rarely contribute.
Yeah.
Occasional thumbs up. Maybe I'll lag in with the occasional bit of support around something that I am actually enthusiastic about, Cody Waitman's raised a whole bunch of money and he's blah, blah, blah. Thumbs up.
Yeah, I think that's on brand for you. Yeah. That works. Yeah. That works. We're getting I'm all over the shop with this. But,
we're talking Bulldogs.
Yeah, we're talking Bulldogs. Is that? But just one last thing. Since it's what's the worst thing you've heard about Melbourne that you can say on this microphone? Just so because we're reveling in we've had the pain of 2021 reliving. We're not talking about that anymore. But just as a bit of Schadenfreude, what do you got?
I mean, I think it is probably that. What is it going to be that I can say? I mean, there's a few that I can't say.
Of course.
What I would say is watch this space. I think there's probably still somebody in the upper echelons of that club who won't be there.
Okay.
My guess is within the next week or so.
Okay. All right. So, that's fun.
Yeah. I feel like Christian. I feel like for Christian to stay, there might have had to be an agreement that somebody else was going to.
Yeah.
go.
Okay.
So watch this space.
Well, as a coach,
I imagine they won't put them right
it?
next to each other, so that it doesn't feel exactly like what I've just told you. But I'd imagine over the next couple of weeks, someone will be like, "Actually, you know what? This has been great, but I want to spend more time with my family."
All right. Well, I mean, let's just enjoy it. I mean, we do have the Dogs game. I mean, let's talk about this Friday.
How are you feeling?
I'm a ball of nerves.
Yeah, you are, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it's all right.
We saw each other just run into each other on the street when the Dogs were playing the Giants. And I told you, I'm like, I saw you and I'm like, you're like the only person I want to speak to right now. I am so, because the game was on. I was watching it on my phone.
You were on the way to work.
I was going to have you been paying attention and
you were just watching every minute of it on your phone. And
yes.
you looked at me like, are you watching the game? And I said, no.
Yes.
No, I'm not.
This is amazing.
Well, because I know these days to not put myself through that stress while it's happening. As I said to you in that moment, I said, I'll let it happen and then I'll choose whether it is I want to like get involved in watching it or not.
So what does that look like? Are you looking at scores at all, or are you waiting for texts from people to...
I mean, often you can tell just incidentally by the text. I always prefer a text. I hate to have to go and look for it myself. I always feel like, you know, if you went looking for a good review, you're always going to find a bad review.
Yes.
You know?
Yep.
And I think that's a bit the same with the football. I'm like, I like the result to come to me rather than me go looking for the result, because if it's bad, then I feel like, well, you did this to yourself. You could have just lived in a world where the Schrodinger's Bulldogs result, right?
Schrodinger's dog.
Schrodinger's dog.
Where we've both won the wooden spoon and the grand final.
Well, we've both won and lost until the moment that I check whether we have won and lost.
Yep.
And so that is now how I watch Bulldogs games. So what I've realised as I've got older is that I love AFL football, but I don't love watching the Bulldogs. Like, it's not like that. It's like I am too invested in the team. The result matters when it's the Dogs. I can't just watch them for fun, and I don't like to watch them be bad. I don't like them, like, I don't like to see them be bad. If they've been bad, I like to go, you know, I've heard they're terrible in Adelaide. I don't know. I didn't watch either of those games. I saw the result and I said, well, I don't need to sit through that. That's both going to like make me feel bad, but it's also going to make me feel bad about them. Like,
Right.
and I like them. I want to be in favour of them.
When
I think of Sam Darcy or Jamar or someone, I want to like have good thoughts in my mind.
Yeah.
And the way to do that is only see them be good. and so
Wow.
I've cut the being bad out of my life. I don't feel like I need to see the bad games anymore. This is something I've really made peace with, is like, I'm not a completionist when it comes to like, I have to see every game.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to
It's not the MCU.
They're not coming to me for advice. You know, they're not going to say, hey, what do you reckon the problem is in the back line? And I would say there is no problem. The only games I've seen this season you've won. It's been great.
So when the
But
game's
I watched the
on,
rest of the game.
So after I saw you,
Yeah.
GWS game, you were heading home. You were. How do you not? Because if I'm in that situation, I have done it where I've tried to avoid the result so I can watch the replay, you know, as, you know, raw dog it without knowing anything.
Yeah.
Everything looks like an omen to me. Like, I will be walking down the street and someone will just even make eye contact and then break eye contact. I'll be like, they know I'm a Bulldogs fan and they don't want to look me in the eye because we've lost. Or I'll go, why hasn't anyone texted me? Or even to be a text from like my dad saying, I'll pick up the kids tomorrow, and I'm like, why didn't he mention the result? What's that? How do you live with the paranoia?
Look, I probably don't. It's interesting. That is an interesting question. I think that people know, like now, most of the people within my like circle know that I probably am not watching the game. So
Okay, yeah.
So I think that there's partly that. So anyone who would care enough to ask me about the result or text me about the results probably knows that I'm not watching the game. That day in particular, though, because I thought it was going to be because this was the final Sunday for people.
That's right,
when
yeah.
we ran into each other. So
Yes.
the Bulldogs were playing in Ballarat, and then there was two other games. So what I suspected was going to happen was we were going to lose to GWS in Ballarat, and then I was going to have to ride those other two games for the rest of the day to see if we would sneak into the finals.
Yes.
As it turns out, we would have got in at every step of that day. We won, Carlton lost,
Yes.
Freo lost. We
Yeah.
would have made it at each step of that day, it turns out. But that's not what I imagined going into the day, because I always start with a naturally pessimistic approach.
And does that work for you?
I mean, what do they say? Expect the worst and then everything else is a bonus sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like with the Bulldogs, it's probably not a bad approach to have. Like, I reckon if you're like a Hawthorn fan, you can lean into the idea of going, no, I'll be up and about, because statistically since 1961, we've won a premiership every 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So you have in your mind, it makes sense
Yes.
that you could have this idea of expectations are that we would win. But the truth of it is, Danny, that even in the year that we won the premiership and in the year that we played in the grand final in our lifetimes, both of them we came from the bottom half of the top 8 on the ladder.
Yep.
So even in those seasons, we weren't
we weren't the best team of the
there were
home and away.
moments in 2016 where we were.
Oh, yeah.
That's what people kind of forget about 2016 is there's been a bit of revisionist history that somehow we were, because we came from so low on the ladder that we were, but for most of that season we were like a top 4 team and just didn't really.
We got plagued by injuries in the final bit of the home and away season, and we dropped right off.
But the point being that even in those seasons, it's not like we were one of those teams like Sydney this season where you lose 2 games and you're still a game clear on top of the ladder.
We've never had that.
It's not us.
That's never been
not
us.
what we do. So why would I be going into games with an expectation that we were always going to win? It just makes no sense, just on the evidence that I've had for all of my life, to take that approach just makes no logical sense.
Well, let me also bring up someone that you and I have both done radio with and a good friend of both of us, Anthony Lemo. His philosophy with footy is, and I took this on in 2021, presume you've already won the flag, because if you don't enjoy it and say, hey, we're going to win the flag and be optimistic, and then you lose on grand final day, that's fine. You enjoyed all those months where you thought you were going to win, and you turned out you were wrong. That's fine. And you can live with that.
But he would say that because he's a Hawthorn supporter.
Exactly. This is what I'm talking about.
Statistically, what he's saying is correct for him, but it's not correct for us. They win one every 3.5 years. We haven't won one every 35 years.
Yeah, but I did enjoy 2021 up until that, last quarter and a half, because I kept saying, no, we're going to win. We got this. Because if I hadn't enjoyed it, then all of 21 me going, we're going to stuff this up, we're going to stuff this up, we're going to stuff this up, and then we do stuff it up. I'm not feeling much better because I was right.
I don't think that we're going to stuff it up.
No.
That feels like that's a step further away from where I am.
Okay. So you're
I'm more just a realist rather than a pessimist, probably.
That's what pessimists always say, though.
Yeah, or or optimist full of shit. Because I think that might be the more accurate.
You're a glass half full of shit.
I'm just saying, where did this glass come from? Who filled it up and what's in it? Just before I drink it, I'm not just going to blindly go, well, I guess this is champagne. It could be urine. Let's at least find out before I scull it on down. You have a sip, and then I'll have a sip.
Yeah. You're like the guy in Princess Bride. You're just trying to work out which of these cups is going to kill
Which one has the iocane powder in it? Well, the truth of it is that over the 50 years of my life, Danny, I have been slowly building up a tolerance.
Yes! You are an Australian. Now, the big news that happened on the weekend, Will Day is out of the Hawthorn side.
That's good news for us.
That is very, very good news for you. I did a bit of a deep dive on AFL tables. Will Day didn't play the first 5 games this year when Hawthorn was 0-5. Then he came in.
Yep.
They have only won 2 games this year without Will Day, and both of them were against North.
Okay. That is a good sign.
That's a very good sign.
He's a good player.
He's brilliant.
Yeah, so them not having one of their absolute best players is obviously clearly good for us. Like, there is obviously the worry around Treloar, but he seems like he's going to be okay, I think.
What is the concern?
He's got like I don't know. I mean, I was going to say hamstring awareness, but that means something else completely these days.
Yeah. I don't think him and Clayton Oliver were at Revs. No.
Very different. No, I think it's some sort of muscle thing, but I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I saw that Riley West played in the VFL.
Yeah, played well. So did JJ.
Yeah. So, I think we're going to have like a good, healthy team to pick from, which is exciting.
We got depth.
And obviously Liam Jones, being available is
huge.
Incredible.
For his 200th game.
And his first ever final.
First ever final.
Never played in a final. And honestly, I thought when that tackle happened, I was like, and you're not going to be playing in your first final. So I was very pleased. So I think, because obviously, I might be skipping ahead here of what you want to talk about, but with Hawthorn, they feel like Bulldogs 2016 a bit, in that they have this incredible belief in what it is that they are doing. I remember saying to my dad in 2016, he said, do you think they can win? And I said, I don't think that they can win, but I said, here's what I know. they think they can win.
Yes, and Tom Boyd would agree with you.
Yeah.
They were absolutely supremely confident.
Yeah.
I remember I saw Bevo at the airport when he was going to Perth, and I just said to him later, I go, any hope for tomorrow? And he looked me square in the eye, and he just went, I am really confident. I was like, oh. And just for a second, I started to believe, because remember, we weren't supposed to beat West Coast.
No.
They were the Hawthorn of 2016. Like they had won like 5 games in a row. They were red hot, and we were having to play them at Subiaco where we never won. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping Hawthorn are West Coast 2016. But to go with if Hawthorn do feel like the Bulldogs in 2016, like they believe they can win, I think they're a bit more Bulldogs 2015, where they know they're good. But I'm just hoping maybe one of their players can lead the game plan.
There's still like a year.
Yeah, you're a year off.
You're a year off.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, because the Bulldogs did think they could win it that year before.
Yeah.
And were devastated to lose that final.
Because
I remember that.
We were there together, I believe.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right.
And which brothers was it? The Talia brothers.
Yes.
Leaked the
to
game
this
plan.
day, leaked the game plan. And so it's one of those things where I know they were confident that they could go the whole way, but I'm with you. I hope that the Hawks are riding so high on momentum that, and this is a bit what the Bulldogs were like in 2021 for me, which was we were on this incredible run again. We can do it again. And then the minute that Melbourne got on top of us, that was it. Because the bubble burst and then suddenly they were like, oh, maybe we can't do it. Like, and then it was over, right?
Yeah.
And I just think if we could do that to Hawthorn, then we can win. Because I do think we've got a better team.
Oh, yeah.
It's just about can we prick that belief bubble that they actually have, because that's, to me, is the most important thing they have. Not having Day, I think, makes a big difference because our midfield depth is going to be, their midfield's really good, but I feel like ours is deeper, and that's, I think, where our advantage is going to be.
I feel our team on its day could beat the All-Australian side. If you put them, against each other in like a holodeck simulation, we would win half the time.
I mean, that's more optimistic than I can.
I saw your brain just go, can't. I'm trying to do that, but
can't do that. Who's playing on Nick Dacos on the wing?
Well, Riley West, he'll take him down. That's fine. Who would you put on Ginnivan? Because he really personifies Hawthorn. He's so cocky. I actually love him, and he didn't play against us. He's fun to watch. He's a perfect pantomime villain. But we need to put Vandermeer on him.
I mean, I think that's probably the right call.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense, right? And I think it's probably who they will send to him.
Yeah, like putting Libba on Heath Shaw in the 2016 prelim. You put the psycho on the psycho.
Yeah, and say, this is your job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, their forward line is interesting to me because it is so small.
Yeah.
That I do think it could create some problems for us. Well, it could either create some problems for us or, we'll be able to dominate them because they're too small, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's a game that we can win in the air, then if it's a nice night, unfortunately it looks like it's going to rain maybe, but if who knows? We're a week away and we live in Melbourne and literally 5 minutes ago it was hailing and now it's sunny.
Yeah.
So the idea that we can say what's happening 5 days from now is probably a little outrageous. But I do think if it's good conditions, that suits us. But obviously the way we played in Ballarat, where it was the opposite of good conditions, also gives you confidence that the Bulldogs have a pressure game plan. That Ballarat game gave me some real confidence, not because we beat GWS necessarily, who were, they had a few players out and didn't have as much on the line really to win that. But just the way we were able to play in bad conditions, because you think with all our tools that you'd be susceptible to awful conditions. But I think if we can make that game plan work in Ballarat, then you should be able to make it work at the G regardless of the conditions.
As Boydie often says, regular listeners will know, we often get accused of we won't be able to play in good conditions because we play indoors in a TV studio. But we train at Whitten.
Yeah.
Anyone old enough to have seen a footy match at Whitten Oval will just know that there is a squally breeze. It'll hail at one end and you'll get sunburn at the other. So we can handle conditions. There is a lot of talk of Hawthorn haven't played at night since 2022, where they played us and we beat them. Do you reckon that's a factor? I don't buy into that.
Well, I mean, if they haven't played it all at night, I mean, it is a different condition, right? It's a bit slipperier.
Yep.
Different vibe. You have to plan your day differently. I mean, I know they're all supreme athletes, but if you've spent your entire season like doing it's like at a comedy festival or whatever, you get used to doing your show at a particular time of the day. So you have dinner at a particular time of day, or I was talking to Max Gorn this morning, and he was saying that, so he had 9 days off and he's back into training today.
9 days?
Yeah, 9 days. That was his break where he didn't do anything and ate whatever he wanted and whatever.
Oh, okay.
And now he's like back into put my head down and get back into things, which I thought was remarkable. Really.
It feels like a waste.
But he said last night for his last indulgent meal, he had a Subway sandwich. And
this is wrong.
And then a bowl of like sweet cereal. And I was like, well, that sounds like a healthy meal.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you doing at Subway? Salad and wholemeal
But I said to him, what do you mean? Why is Subway a treat meal? And he said it's a treat meal for dinner. Because normally at dinner you have these really specific things that for your body and your like preparation that you would eat at dinner, and like eating a bread roll wouldn't be like one of those things. And so it's actually, again, like just that idea of going, these are the certain meals that I will have at certain times of the day. And I know that, of course, these are all professional athletes. But the other thing we know about Ginny in particular is he'll also go to the races the night before the grand final. So maybe it does play. I mean, I don't think it hurts us. Whether it helps us or not.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good way to think about it.
But I don't think it hurts us.
Yeah. All right, that's pretty good. And Bailey Dale played those conditions so well in Ballarat, and you got the All-Australian squad. Something that came up during the week, do you know why Bailey Dale is called Digger?
Why? Because he looks like an old school World War
That's not a bad theory. It's not a bad theory.
I mean, he looks like one. He's literally got that same look of like an old soldier returned from the war. You know what I mean? With that little mustache, and he'd be like an old school with like a gun.
It's a good thing. It's not accurate. No, I've got the real reason.
Yeah, okay, tell me why.
Because one of our listeners asked us, is it because Dale dug a hole from the castle?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Isn't that brilliant?
Yeah.
So I
is that the reason?
It is not.
These are both good reasons.
I know they're better. Trust me, it's better than the real one. I texted a friend of the show, Toby McLean, AFLW assistant coach, and I said, "Why is he called Digger?" He goes, "We had too many Baileys, so Bevo just made up a random nickname for it, and it stuck."
Is that right?
Yeah.
Can I? So Daisy Thomas, I'm doing the radio with.
Yes.
Do you know why he's called Daisy Thomas?
Dale, Daisy, did it just sort of like Daly became Daisy?
I mean, you think that would be a better explanation than the real reason, which is he went into a team that had previously had a Dale in that team, and that's Dale's nickname was Daisy, and so he was the new Dale, so they just called him Daisy.
Brilliant. Brilliant. There's a guy, one of my high school friends, I've always called him Frog because he wore a hat with a frog on it the first day. And then I was in Perth and I did a show for some SAS guys, and they've all got nicknames, and one was called Frog. And I go, "Oh, sweet, I got a mate called Frog because he wore a frog hat. Why are you called Frog?" And his face dropped, and they all went, "Say it, say it." And he went, "Because the guy who I replaced was called Frog."
Yeah, right. That's great.
That's the good way to do nicknames. Actually, on nicknames, I'm having a bit of a battle online. It's not an official war, but with Joel Frazier, a lot of people call him Smoking Joel.
Yeah,
I'm trying to push Dr. Crane.
Frazier.
Yeah,
Smoking Joe Frazier. Because he's what is he?
Joel.
Joel Frazier.
Joel Frazier.
Smoking Joel Frazier is like, it's too tortured, isn't it?
It is.
It's clever.
Yeah,
but it's too tortured.
Yeah, and it's Mercedes' nickname.
Yeah. So interesting. So you're saying, what are you trying to make the nickname?
Dr. Crane.
Dr. Crane.
Dr.
Yeah,
Crane.
I understand who Frazier is, but I'm just like you're going with so Doctor. Could you go with Doctor?
You could call. Oh, we've already got.
We've got
Taylor
Doc
Duray.
already. Yeah, that's true. We've already got a Doc. So
actually, one time I texted Toby McLean, go, "Why is Duray called Doc?" And he sent me, you know when you can read sarcasm in a text? He went, "Think about it. Say it slowly and think about it."
Taylor Duray. Duray.
Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre. Oh, Dr. Dre.
There it is.
Yeah, right. You're right. No, it took me a second.
Yeah. See?
That's clever, though. I like that. Dr. Dre. I'm happy with that. That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so he can't be...
He can't just be the doc.
no.
All right. But he's Dr. Crane, that's what Woody calls him in
Yeah,
Cheers.
but I feel like Dr. Crane is just like... it's the double barrel that's not working for me.
Yeah, 3 syllables is a lot.
Yeah, Dr. Crane. It feels like it needs to be Crane or Doc. But I like the idea.
Thank you.
I'm in favour of your concept. I like the general area that you're exploring.
Well, look, Taylor Durais.
Could he be
only
like
got a couple more years
Cheers or something, or is that too back for you're going too far back?
I don't mind it. Whilst Taylor Durais is around, we call him Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheersy. And then once Taylor Durais
could be
moves
the
into
new
a coaching
doctor.
role,
Yeah.
then he's the doctor.
Yeah, the
new doctor.
Yeah, the new doctor.
But that's going to be that's going to become like Matt Smith or something like. I think we've done pretty well. 40 minutes before we went fully into pop culture mode. It's all right. What was the other things I had to tell you about?
Yes, tell me.
We've got the Bailey Dales. We've done all that.
Yeah.
The preview.
Speaking of Baileys, do we feel like Bailey Dale will be one of the only Baileys that are still remaining at the club next year?
We've got Bailey Williams, Bailey Dale, Bailey Hunt in the AFLW, and I don't think. A guy in my WhatsApp group said.
Oh yeah, what is the WhatsApp?
He saw Bailey Smith's manager at Barker's Cafe talking to someone. Mm-hmm. However, he also conceded that he manages about half a dozen guys in the Bulldog squad. But the rumour he was given is we're saying throwing him a last minute. Come on, can't just stay, can't. But from what I'm gathering, there doesn't seem we want him to stay, but it doesn't seem like the actual comms from the club are very. I mean, he keeps showing up for photos, so
yeah, but not for training.
You don't see him in a photo with a teammate.
No,
that's a big thing for me.
Have you seen his crypto ad?
I've not. No.
Yeah, I feel like I was hanging on with dear life, trying to still be on his side, and then I saw his crypto ad, and I was like, go to Geelong. Yeah. It's like there's this scene where his hair is using a crypto app.
Oh
and
God!
It's I was nah. This is Geelong nonsense. Take it down the highway, champ.
It's very Hawthorn as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, anywhere but here.
We'll
have Ginny.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love Ginnivan.
It'd be great if every year Jack Ginnivan went from club to club, different club each year.
Yes, and then 18-year carear.
Yeah.
For 19, he's got to play for Tassie.
Yeah. Well, that's right. By the time they come in, in fact, in 19 years, he might get to play for plays a 20-year career.
Darwin.
One at each. Yeah, finishes in Darwin.
I think that's great. Wins a flag at every one.
Yes.
Actually, no, not that. That's Hawthorn.
Yeah,
not this year. He wins a flag at everyone except Hawthorn.
It is one of those things. If worst case scenario, if Hawthorn did beat us, are you then the sort of person that wants Hawthorn to lose the next week? Or are you the sort of person that goes, okay, well, I guess if they went all the way, we could at least say we were beaten by the team that ended up winning the grand final?
That the second one has more logic to it, and I should think that way, but football is not rational.
No.
And I'm amazed that more people aren't like this. I always want interstate teams to win. I don't want Victorian teams to win.
Interstate teams, Danny. They are, what do we call them? Non-Victorian teams.
Non-Victorian teams.
Because it's not the VFL.
That's
They're
true.
Not interstate.
Yes.
They are non-Victorian.
Got to use the right pronouns.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Don't you mislabel
I'm
these
sorry.
teams are.
Well, this podcast is Victorian-based, so we could say that. It's the non-Victorian team, because if Hawthorn wins the grand final, I have to deal with Limo. I have to deal with other friends,
Too
close
many
friends.
Hawthorn people that you know.
In my face.
We've got so many people in our world.
Absolutely.
That's also my problem with Carlton. Carlton haven't presented us. We just had to have a break while Danny dealt with some issues around the house. But I loved it because I got to have another Anzac biscuit.
Hey.
And I want to just give a shout out to your daughter and wife who have made some of the most delicious Anzac. I've had 4 now.
Oh, brilliant.
And top notch.
They're top notch, aren't they? It's really good because my wife's not the best cook. Oh, crap, we're on air. But my daughter's keen on it. So
she's brought a lot to the table. Because so someone has absolutely nailed this. Whatever's going on, whatever formula they've put together, it is a winning combination.
Well, my daughter was born the day after we won the 2016 grand final, so it's an omen.
Yeah, bit of magic. Oh, this is how your brain works. I get it now. Yeah, okay, right. We'll like the biscuits, so that means we're going to beat Hawthorn. Down in the basement, just with red string connecting it to things.
It's the Zodiac Killer.
That's right. I saw a French bulldog on the way here. That's a bulldog.
Yes.
And I haven't seen any hawks.
And France won the Men's World Cup. So therefore...
And why? Therefore...
I'm like the Unabomber, but like optimism. Like, yeah, I think I'm the opposite of you. I will find reasons why we'll win in the most obscure, even though all logic has said it will not work.
So Carlton, we have a lot of Carlton fans.
We do.
A lot of Hawthorn fans in our lives.
Yes.
A lot.
And we have dealt with, and it's very different now in the age of social media. We are yet to endure an Essendon premiership in the social media.
That's right.
And that is going to be hell when it happens.
Well, yes. No, you're right. But I think we were thinking the same thing was going to happen with Carlton. It looked like this time last year that, we're about to enter the era of Carlton.
Yeah.
And there were, again, this was the one where I was like, oh, I can't have this. I cannot have this because I know so many Carlton fans.
You got Dave Hughes, Adam
Pang,
Rosenbach. Oh,
Andy Lee.
Man, I work with Sam Pang. He does not care.
I mean,
but Andy Marr.
Yeah. There's a lot.
There's a lot. Yes.
There's a lot of Tegan Higginbotham, who's the producer of our radio show. There's like a lot of Carlton people in like the vicinity, and I've got a couple of mates outside the entertainment world who are also mad Carlton fans.
Yes.
And they also they're old enough because they're like, my age, that they lived through the absolute era of Carlton domination / corruption. And I don't know, what was the secret to their success back
with
then?
all the champions they like to send us.
Why is it weird that they haven't won since you weren't allowed to cheat? So anyway, but it looked like they were coming. Like it was.
Yes.
And look, they still could. I mean, who knows?
Oh, yeah, they're still in the finals.
Right,
We
they're
forget
in the
that.
finals, and we forget that this time last year they went up to Brisbane and
Kicked the first 5 goals.
could have done anything.
Yep.
So it's not beyond them. They'll get a whole bunch of good players back. You never know, right? But we're not ready for Carlton fans to be.
No. And this is going back to what we were saying ages ago. If a non-Victorian team wins, so if Port Adelaide win the flag, and I got nothing against Port Adelaide because they hate the Crows, and so do I. 97, 98,
Enemy
15.
of my enemy is my friend.
Exactly. I like Port Adelaide. And if they win, all the Port Adelaide fans will go back to Adelaide.
Oh, yeah.
I won't have to deal with them.
No, that's true.
I know a few, but no one's going to text me. Brilliant.
Yeah. No, that was the advantage of Melbourne.
I know, I got a lot of texts.
I know.
Broden Kelly.
But mostly Broden.
Yeah.
Broden is honestly, Broden and Russell Howcroft. Other than that, I don't have a lot of Melbourne friends.
Yeah, I've got some civilian friends.
Yeah.
But that's it. It's weird though. Like my son plays under 10s footy, and they wear. There's a lot of Melbourne there, but that's because I live in Northcote and it is getting gentrified.
Yeah, that's the sign. It's all those people who are like, who will I pass my MCC membership on to?
So last time we played the Hawks, they've beaten us the last 2 times.
Yes.
We beat them 3 times before that. The last time we played them at the MCG was round 2 2019. And if you've looked at my YouTube, I listed the top 5 wins of all time of the Bulldogs that were non-finals. Number 4 was this match. This is where they were up by 5 goals at 3/4 time, and we came back. And we ended up winning by 3 goals. James Sicily gave away free kicks before the bounce, so we got 2 goals. And it was so free kick Hawthorn, but the opposite. It was they got free kicks against them that were a bit dodgy, and watching them become Hulk rage monsters was just perfect.
I quite admire James Sicily. But I hope he has one of those nights where he just makes a lot of bad decisions.
Yes.
Like that, you know what I mean? Like where he loses his nut and starts giving away free kicks again. That's really what we need from Sicily.
Yeah. So maybe put Vandermeer on him. That's what Vandermeer does.
Yeah, so, mate, you're going to have to, you're playing it, we've picked you on 3 people.
Well, you put in Libba as well to really roll them up. And we don't have any other maniacs, do we?
I mean, I guess this is like, so if you're like a McRae, for example, or somebody who's like just on the edge now, was a champion of the club, but is looking for where is my role in this team?
Yep.
Is there not, and I'm not saying it would suit him necessarily, but if you're one of those style players, is that not the turn you could make?
Like Tony Liberatore went from, hard nut rover to bully.
Yeah. Just annoying bully. Like,
it's not a bad idea. Caleb could do it.
Oh, yeah. You know what? That's a much better option, right? I think he's definitely got it in him.
Yeah. Because he's got a helmet. He could just get up in your face. He'd be like, just a little angry gopher.
I mean, an angry gopher, he's got that little short man syndrome attitude. Do you know what I mean? Like, he'd just annoy you. He'd buzz at you. But also, the other thing that would, like, he'd be able to get in your head, he'd be like, I'm really handsome under this helmet. Like, I don't even have to show it off. This is how handsome I am. I can hide in a helmet how handsome I am. That's how confident I am in how handsome I am.
He doesn't get credit for how good looking he is.
Well, because he wears a helmet. He's like, Caleb Daniel is like a girl in an American teen movie who's like the
librarian.
nerdy librarian is like, I'd never go on a date with her. And then like at the end of every game, he takes off his helmet and he just like shaves out his hair. It's like, oh my God, is that one of the Hemsworths?
He shows up to the BNF and it's like prom night and she's all that.
That's right.
There we go. That's what we've learned. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about is very exciting I'm very honoured to be back on the banners this week.
Now, I think this is big news. If we're looking for omens,
thank you.
This is one that I'm willing to get on board, this being an omen. In fact, somebody did say to me, because I might have, look, I mean, I don't know how public it was when you told me that it was happening. I know it has become public since.
It is public now, yes. But it's been in the works for a few months with Kylie Watson-Wheeler, feeling out Bevo and the board and just making sure that they're happy for me to give it a crack.
Well, I went with it on the radio as a bit of a rumour.
Did you?
I hear a bit of a rumour that the Bannerman might be back for the Bulldogs finals.
Oh, sweet.
And then it came out officially that it was happening. So I'm very excited. And somebody asked me, they said, how do you feel about that? And I said, this is genuinely, because I attach. That's what wasn't there in 2021. Like, I attach you and those banners. You were the original. Everyone talks about the GWS social media.
He's very good.
Yeah, very good. Don't get me wrong.
St Kilda's guy as well. He's
Unreal.
very good.
And you know who's Hawthorn's pretty good now too.
Yeah.
Like the Bulldogs are doing a good job, but like everyone's lifted their game because of it. But that attitude of going, it's okay to have a bit of a fun with the bigger clubs and be an underdog and use humour as one of your weapons, because that's why it works with GWS.
Yes.
Is because they are an underdog, right?
Yeah.
Like if it were Hawthorn or Sydney having that sort of cocky attitude, you'd be like, well, you are already successful. It comes across as being too cocky, right?
And that's why it was so impressive when Collingwood had funny banners.
Yes.
That was a much harder job, and I have full credit to the accountant who did it. I don't know if he ever came out, who he was, but I chatted to him and I met with him and gave him some pointers and helped him out. But yeah, he's left the club, and that's why they've gone back to boring stuff.
But I'm very excited about. But now let's get inside your head.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're back, baby.
I'm back.
This is Oasis reforming. This is, people are excited to see what you're going to unveil, but like there's a lot of pressure on the line.
So much pressure.
So have you already locked in what you think? Yes. So it's locked in. It's being made.
It's locked in.
How long do they need notice to put together a banner? Generally?
It's very different now. I mean, I've only done one.
Yeah.
Actually, to be honest, I've done two because I've done the AFLW one for this Friday as well.
Okay, great.
It used to be I would send about half a dozen on a Monday or a Tuesday, and it would be approved probably Wednesday and then made on the Thursday. President Watson-Wheeler wanted it Saturday or Friday. It was Friday or Saturday. No, Friday. She wanted it Friday. So last Friday, and we had to log it in. So she is checking it personally, and she's a lot more hands-on. Like we had several phone calls throughout the afternoon.
And how many options did you send?
I ended up sending 5. and one that got and this is so it's Liam Jones's 200th, so it has to be one about him. I did send in one of it's 199 games. No, Liam Jones 200 games. His first final. The timing couldn't be classicer. Hawthorn's forwards will witness a Liam Jonestown massacre.
Oh yeah, that's probably a bit edgy.
Well, this is the thing. It got. She went, "Hey, that's great, and then literally about 3 minutes later, I get a phone call from her, and she's gone, "I've just Googled it."
You.
What I didn't see, to be honest, I didn't know that the history of the Jonestown massacre. I didn't realize what, and for people who don't know, it was a mass murder suicide of a cult where they didn't drink Kool-Aid. That is the phrase "drink the Kool-Aid" comes from it.
From literally that, but they didn't drink Kool-Aid.
No, but Kool-Aid have never really. Kool-Aid should be fighting that rumor. It was some sort of cordial, but a lot of children died, so that's made it less funny. So yeah, we'll keep it nice. I'm not going to reveal what it is here, but there's a lot of...
It's weird, though, that you asked me when I came in what rhymes with vaccination. So...
That was another angle. I was wondering how many people remembered that Liam Jones...
no vaccinations.
He did lose his job at Carlton because he wouldn't get the jab. I did think, be it set, snap, or COVID, he really hates shots. He also, and there's a lot of people. How much are Hawthorn doing the hock ball?
Oh yeah.
So a lot of people doing the chew 'em up, spit 'em out, hock tour.
Yeah. I think yes.
It feels out of date though already.
I feel like that would be great 6 weeks ago.
Yes, that's exactly it. It'd be like doing a ray gun reference now. It's already out of it.
How quick we've got past that. Like if someone's like, "Hey, ray gun." Whatever, mate.
Yeah, we're done. Okay.
Ray gun was months ago.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but in social media years
ago, mate. It's years ago.
So yeah, I am absolutely feeling the pressure, and I'm waiting for the "we liked your old stuff better than your new stuff" stuff on social media. But and if we lose, it's over.
It.
Yeah, like I don't know if we'll be back next year. We haven't talked about it. It was just for finals. But
there's a lot on the line. For you.
So we need to win. Yeah.
For you, if nothing else.
Do you get this as well? Probably when the Dogs go deep into finals, I get a lot more corporates and media stuff.
Oh,
because people.
Yeah. Well, I get the media stuff.
Yeah.
Because I know even in the world that I live in, it's one of those things where we're like, oh, what teams are still in the finals?
Yeah,
who's associated with those teams? Like, so we're like, oh, we might get Limo and Broden in because their teams are in the news, right?
Yes.
Like that is often when you're thinking about like what you will do, right? And so I do think that there is that. I mean, I remember when in 2016, like I felt like I was the official spokesperson for the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I was your
felt
ambassador,
really
your deputy.
Uncomfortable, like sometimes about that until somebody said to me, your job isn't like, because I was like, well, this isn't about me. I haven't done any of this.
Yeah.
And I don't want to seem like I am, claiming any credit for it. And they said, but no, you need someone to be the voice of the people who don't have a voice, to be able to go on and tell the stories of this is the story of this club and this is the history of this club. And so when they make a documentary or when they do, like, I mean, to me, still, my favorite thing about 2016 is that so AFL 360 on the Monday night,
I love
they
this.
do that little package of, the grand final.
Yes.
And, for people who watch AFL 360, which I'm sure a whole bunch of people listening to this podcast have probably watched AFL 360, they do the best football packages in the game.
Yes.
Their producers are amazing. They put time and effort into them. They'll do that thing where they have the different calls of different moments.
Yeah, the multi-call.
Multi-call. Like, they're incredible. But the one after the grand final is always, it's just a perfect package.
Isn't that the one with your voiceover? Yeah,
so
you talking.
On the Friday night, I had been with Adam Spencer because he's a Swans fan. He was the number one ticket holder at the Swans that year. And so we went on AFL 360 on the Friday night. And I did a little rant about our that
was in an ad as well. It was great
as the voiceover. And so occasionally, if I just want to not sit down and watch the whole game, I'll just go and watch that little package from AFL 360. And it's really nice to have that connection. And what you realise in retrospect, because I was always like, oh, it's weird that my voice is the kind of voice that of this. But all the others are the experts, the coaches, the captains, the whatever. I'm the voice of, this is not like, hey, I'm a celebrity and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'm a person who has like barracked for this team all my life, and there are a bunch of other people who barrack for their team all their lives, and they've been through different versions of the story I'm telling you here today.
Yep.
But I'm just telling you a fan's story.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not claiming that I am responsible for any of this because
Nope.
I am not in any way. I'm just telling you what it's like to be a fan.
Yeah, that's our role. That's what this podcast
Well,
is.
it's not your role,
Especially
Dan,
that-
because you are the banner man.
That's true, yeah.
You actually have a game day role.
Well, I just saw a week out and stuff. But yeah,
Still your banner man.
I did get
On
told...
the day. I mean, tell me what it's like, because this is actually genuinely, like, what's it going to be like on Friday night, particularly after all this time, to be back? Because when you did it like the first time, you're in it, and it's your job, and you're doing it weekly, and it's like, you know.
Yeah.
But now it has been a while, and you're back. What's it going to feel like when the banner goes up on Friday night?
As much as I will be watching the game, I'm so happy that it's such an important game, because I'll be distracted by the game, because the temptation will be there to read the comments.
Yeah.
And just because we're just comedians. The reason we do what we do is we like immediate approval, immediate feedback of whether people like it or not. You know, tell a joke.
I'm really playing the long game for being really discovered as an artist post-death. All this is just treading water. Like...
Well, after maybe I'll wait till I'm dead, and then I'll read the comments.
We'll read them at your funeral. I'll come in and say this was Danny's wish, is that I reread these comments.
Like his old stuff better. He was better in 2016.
Bulldogs suck. Oh, that's weird. It's not even about the batter.
Hot MILFs in your area. That's weird.
Yeah, nudes in bio. Okay, all right, well, I suppose.
Well, okay, we should wrap up.
yes.
It will be exciting. I'm watching with my son as well. Like last time when I did the banners, my kids
Yeah.
were tiny and they didn't know what
Not
was
old
going
enough
on.
to appreciate
And
that.
now my son is like footy mad. He's 10 years old. This is his thing. So I did when I suggested I said I'm back on the banners, and he was like, oh yeah. And I told him an idea I had. And he's normally a really good boy, but he just looked at me and went, I'm guessing that's a work in progress.
Well, it's good stuff.
So,
Yes.
Friday night,
Friday
where are you sitting? Are you in fancy pants, or are you?
Well, look, so I have tickets in the outer, so I'm not, like, as in, like, I'm not behind the glass.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I guess is the difference. I am, like, my tickets are in the area for, you know, Bulldogs reserved, like, you know.
Yeah.
The
You
first
level one, or are you?
allocation. I mean, these are good questions
Thank
that
you.
I don't know the answer to.
I think I'm
sitting with where all the other Bulldogs.
We might be near each other. I'm in
Yeah.
the pocket that is diagonally opposite the Bontempelli Hodge pocket. So down Olympic stand.
I haven't checked that closely.
Okay.
I just literally went online, bought 2 tickets, and
Well
didn't
done.
really think about anything. They were in the area, the first allocation, which is the one I was eligible for. I put in my passcode, 2 came up, I put in my credit card details. Like, I didn't look where they were. I didn't it was just the 2 areas that came up.
All right. Well, I think we will be sitting near each other. That'll be
Yeah.
fun. Who do you think who would you like to who would you like to be best on ground?
All right. So, well, I'd like a Bulldogs player to be best on ground.
Yes.
Yeah. And I feel like if one of our players is best on ground, we'll win.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
This is very vague. Yes.
No, but I do think that. Like, I think that because, like, you could see a world where Bontempelli is best on ground, but we lose.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't actually think so. I think if Bontempelli has a game where he is best on ground, we win because
Yeah.
Bont is that good that if he has a great game, we win. So there's that. But let's assume that Bont will play great regardless.
Yeah.
You can almost lock that in.
We can
right?
take that as read. Yep.
So I think the most important player is one of the big 3 forwards.
Agreed.
Really? So
Yep.
if one of them happened to be best on ground, if one of Norton, Jamara or Sam Darcy is best on ground, I think we win.
Yeah, I agree. Which one would you? And I love them all.
Sam Darcy.
You're picking Sam Darcy,
Yeah.
because you and Luke are very close friends, worked together for years. I'm going to pick Jamara.
And well, the only reason I say, I mean, I'd love if it was Jamara.
Oh, of course, I'd love it if it was Sam
The
Darcy.
only reason I say Sam is, I think Sam's going to have the advantage of third tall, and I'm not sure who Hawthorn are going to be able to play on Sam. So I really could see it like Sam being the one.
Yeah.
I also, when I was doing the radio with Luke, I mean, I've known Luke for 20 years, but when I was doing the radio with Luke, Sam was like 13, 14, 15 or 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
And so to constantly hear from him being like a promising teenage footballer and clearly having this absolute dream to play AFL, like loves it, always wanted to be an AFL footballer. He's not one of those guys who's like, oh, I'm just good at this, but like it's not really my passion or whatever.
Dad did it, so I'll do it. Yeah.
All he's ever wanted to do was be an AFL footballer. And I think that there is potential that he could honestly be one of the greatest footballers of all time if
Agreed.
It works for him.
Yeah.
I think with a player like that, he obviously had that breakout game a couple of weeks ago, but I think he could rip open a final, and this might be the one. So I'm going to say Sam Darcy, best on ground. But yeah, maybe kicks 4 goals. I don't think it'll be
That's a bag.
7 goal, but I reckon if he kicks 4 goals and is best on ground, we win.
I love this. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I hope your team wins.
Yeah, I hope your team wins. I hope your banner's good.
All right. I'm turning this off, and you're going to tell me what Max Gawn said.
I gave my childhood to that role of the red, white, and blue sea, and the knowledge that you had to love the Bulldog boys and me. 20 years on, I feel that longing hanging in September air. But the reason I go every week is to pretend you're still there. And they will find the glory one day, and I will throw it at your feet. It's a long, long road they're running for you, the dogs of Footscray streets. It's a long, long road they're running for you, the dogs of Footscray streets.